What is the lake meditation and what makes it so powerful? And what are the key elements of mindfulness that are developed through guiding someone in this visual imagery exercise of the lake meditation? This is the Teach Mindfulness podcast. My name's Shamesh, and I'm excited to explore with you the lake meditation. So, in our previous episode, we talked about another visual meditation, which is another popular one for mindfulness courses called the mountain meditation. And the other one that's been done for literally decades since the 80s, perhaps first by John Kabat-Zinn, is the lake meditation. And kind of thinking from the modern context of ACT and what are the skills that the lake meditation develops, I would say it's certainly about acceptance and openness, so that skill. Certainly, you're cultivating a sense of being flexibly present, so that skill's there. And thirdly, it's got this dimension of tuning into the observing self, the transcendent self. So that third skill is also developed. Now, for those that haven't done it, some of you may not have done it. It involves imagining or visualizing a lake and just reflecting on the colors of the lake and the weather around and how the lake surface can actually become quite choppy. It can be quite murky and green, or its colors can change. And so it's got this dynamic of movement and maybe even storms around it. But it's also about reflecting that underneath the lake, it's more still. And the idea is similar to the mountain meditation, that you become one with it. So you become the lake. And so you realize that just like the lake, there's a part of you that is thinking and moving and planning and worrying as if the surface of the lake is changing a lot. But also, you're linking into the observing self in that you're tuning into the part of yourself which is still, that is able to observe this, just like the bottom of the lake would be still. Now, this meditation is often done lying down, and that's recommended, or reclining at least, because if you've got this sense of being like a lake or the base of the lake. It beautifully, you can really take your time when you're guiding this exercise. You can be creative. You could describe a lake that you've been to before. And as with the other visualization I mentioned, it can be challenging for some people. So you can tell them to think of a lake they've been to before. They could make a new one up in their imagination. And if you really want to support your students even more, and I do this quite often, is to share, like if I'm teaching online anyway, is share the image of something just to give some people something to hold on to. So you could even have a image of a beautiful lake, maybe with some mountains in the background. I guess you could even do that in person as well. You could have a picture that you show them that may help them. As you guide them through it, this isn't always done, but I like this idea of going through what a day would be like and how the weather would change around the lake and how the temperature warms and cools. You can even talk about, again, the change of seasons, as I like to do with the mountain meditation, the heat in the summer, the storms of the winter, and maybe linking it up to the seasons that we experience in our minds and our emotions just within a day, not over a year. But I love this idea of, the observing self I particularly like. And so that sense of almost tuning into the stillness and depth of the lake, and observing the thoughts coming and going as we have, and our feelings coming and going, and them not being, our thoughts and feelings not being the only thing that's part of us. So you start to tune into something bigger. The acceptance piece that I would also like to touch on before I finish is that a lake is very accepting if you think about it. Whatever it falls into into the body of the lake, it accepts it, allows it. Sometimes there's leaves that fall in, all sorts of different animals are there's trees growing out of it, and it's just got this sense of wide openness, and this open, making space, allowing, accepting. These are different words for that same skill that we want to develop in mindfulness. It's just one of the most fundamental skills of mindfulness in act. So if you could, tune into that and help your students with that, it's powerful. As you guide the meditation and as you get towards the end of it, you can remind your students that they can come back to this lake anytime they want if they found it helpful, and they don't need to do it for as long as that. They can just spend a few minutes reflecting on the lake. They could be, sitting at work or at home or walking or in any other place, and just take a moment to reimagine the lake and think about all the different qualities that the lake have, and tune it into their own internal qualities. So it's a wonderful practice, like the mountain meditation. Great way to develop these different elements of mindfulness, and it's something that you can get quite creative with. And I'm glad I've said that, because that's what we're going to be talking about in our next episode. How do you bring creativity into your mindfulness teaching, and should you even do that? So maybe see you in the next one. So this is the Teach Mindfulness podcast. As I said, do get in touch if you want to join our community of mindfulness teachers. Something new that we're developing that will essentially, it's about building confidence in guiding mindfulness classes and courses, and developing workshops, and also developing the skill of how do you find students. You could do all the training in the world, but if you're not able to get in touch with people to connect with them and find the right students for you, then that becomes a challenge as well. So the authentic marketing side, in a way that works for you, we're developing that as well as a community, so supporting each other. But yeah, thanks for listening. See you in the next one.